All right, good evening, everybody. Please let's confirm if we can hear me.
Good evening, Musu.
Good
Good
evening,
evening, Marcel.
good evening, Yinka. Good evening. Trust you're doing great.
Good
Um,
evening, Muslim.
Evening, Baroka. Okay, so you are welcome to day 8 of our training evening Luafemi on the Power Platform series. And yesterday we looked at some things when it comes to data prep, and we were able to establish the fact that data prep is the first stage when it comes to whatever reporting you want to do within Power BI. And of course, even if not Power BI, you're using Tableau or you're using Excel, you still need your data to be structured so that you can have the best of analysis and a seamless one, so to put. So let's quickly have a bit of reviews. So yesterday we looked at some rules for data management. I would like that we quickly have a recap of that. What is rule number one? Rule number one of data management. What is the first rule?
No empty rows.
No empty columns.
Okay, I had two now. No empty rows, no empty columns. So let's proceed.
Single roll of
Single
heading.
Unique
rows of
heading
heading.
tag.
Single row of heading,
Dates on a single column.
dates in a single column. That's for
No obstruction around your data.
no obstructions around your data. That's 5.
No total and subtotals.
No totals and subtotals. It remains 1.
Data categories must have a unique column.
Data categories must have unique column. Excellent. So we need to look out for all of these in whatever data set we want to work on, and whatever rule is violated, that would inform the kind of transformation that we would do within Power BI. And we also looked at the engine that we use for data transformation. What is that engine again? Who remembers? What
Power
engine
Query.
we use? Power Query.
Query.
Power Query. So Power Query is that massive engine that you use for data transformation. So Power Query exists in about 6 applications. Let me just give us this. We have Power Query in Power BI, just like we're using now. We have Power Query in Excel, for those of us that we're coming from Excel background. We have Power Query online. That is what we call data flows. So on your Power BI service, on some on analysis service, you have Power Query. You have Power Query in Power Apps. Okay, you have Power Query in I've mentioned analysis services. Um, Maybe if I remember the other place. Okay, yes, we have Power Query also in Power Automate. So that's about 6 of Microsoft products that use Power Query. So Power Query is that engine that allows you to create connection to different data sources, and it works well for data transformation. So whenever you want to connect to external data sources, think of Power Query. Maybe you are within Power Apps and you want to connect to Excel, just like we did in our class. So connecting Power Apps to Excel, you are actually using Power Query to do that connection. So when you connect your what's it called, your Power BI, you want to connect to SQL Server, it is Power Query that you would allow you to achieve that. So Power Query is a massive engine that we need to know how to use very well. And Power Query Online is what we call data flows. So that's a bit of what we did yesterday. So today's class, we'll pick up from where we stopped yesterday. And yesterday we started using the data, I think data cleaning intro. We looked at the transpose, and we were able to do that within Power Query. So today we'll look at Unpivot, and then we'll look at some real life cases that we could have as like a real live data set that we could have to clean, which is what we'll look at in the dirty data file. So today's class will be taken by my awesome colleague. I believe you can guess right who is taking to this class, not myself. So Noya will be taking our class tonight. And so on this note, I would hand over to Noya to take us through what we are doing tonight. Noya, good evening. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Good evening, Musin.
Good
Good
evening.
evening, everyone.
Good evening. Glad
Good
to have
evening,
you.
Noe.
Good evening.
Okay, so Noya, I will stop sharing my screen now so you can proceed to share your screen and let's kick off.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so good evening, everyone. Welcome to today's session. So this is, I think, day 8 of the training session. So we've gone through a lot of things. We've learned Power Apps, and now we're currently learning Power BI. And in the last session, Musin talked about Power BI, talked about the Power BI interface and everything that we need to know, the basic things we need to know about Power BI. And now we've entered into Power Query, which is an important part of data transformation. And that is what is going to help you to clean your data before you can be able to analyze and create reports in Power BI. So I want to ask, I know Musin told us about Power BI. How many of us know the formula language of Power Query? The formula language of Power Query, the language that Power Query uses to transform and clean this data. Anyone?
M.
Thank you, So that means Musin has really taught us almost everything we need to know. So we talked about transpose in the last class where Musin told us what transpose means. And today we are going to do on pivots. So we're going to touch on pivots 1 and on pivot 2. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to do on pivot 1 with us first, and then we'll be doing on pivot 2 as kind of like an assignment that we'll do here in class. Not yes, like an assignment in class or an activity we're going to do in class, and I'll give assigned time for that. So what I want us to do first is you can look at this data set here. Data clip. You want us to open that Excel file, open it down. I'll give us like a minute for that. Data cleaning intro. So if you've opened it up, you can just use the hand tool to raise up your hand. So there are only 2 hands up. We have only 2 hands up. We have 3 hands. Okay. Okay. So if you open it up,
Sorry,
you see the
it's
first.
possible that
Hello, what did you say?
I have library office on my laptop. I don't know, maybe you can still connect. I didn't have Microsoft Excel.
Oh, I can't hear you clearly. It's kind of breaking, or it's not really clear.
Can you hear me now?
You say yes. You say you have what?
I do not have Microsoft Excel, so I only have the
So
library office. So can it connect with Power BI?
Berlida office. I don't.
You don't know? Okay, continue. Don't worry.
I've not heard of that before. Honestly speaking.
Okay, continue. Thanks.
Okay. So you have the column for ship mode. You have different states and let's say cities. You have hosting, you have Waco, you have Chicago, you have Philadelphia, you have a lot of states here. So now, by looking at this data set, you can see you have first class here. And now we want to say, okay, all these other places here, these other places, they are like states. They're like states, and or all states to be in one particular column. Remember our rules of data management. And I'll just ask now, okay, what rule do you think this is breaking? What rule do you think this is breaking? Look at this data set. What rule do you think this is breaking? Let's look at it. Out of the 7 rules of data management, what rule do you think this is breaking or has broken?
Data categories must have unique columns.
Exactly. So all these are states. So they are supposed to be in one column so that you know that, okay, what we are trying to classify here, let's say they are states, but as they're like this now, it's quite not really, will I say, nice or understandable, because when someone looks at it, okay, I can say, okay, for listening is yeah, but by the time you're now having like more than or up to 50 or let's say 100 states or let's say locations, you'll now be scrolling and the data set will not be much. But if it's in one column, it is going to be like going to look more presentable and more understandable. And when you're trying to analyze your data, it's going to be very easy. So if you're just picking hosting when you have it under your data fields and you create a chart, it's going to be more understandable when you just say, okay, let me pick this location and filter by, let's say, Houston or let's say Chicago. It's going to be very easy for you. So what we are going to do is we are going to work on this in Power BI. But first of all, we need to Unpivot means. What transpose, like they have their own separate columns. And now we have this one, and we want to transpose, let's say we want to transpose from column B to column O. Want to transpose from column B to column O, but we don't want to transpose the whole table just from this particular column to this column. You use a particular function or command, let's say a particular command or action called Unpivot. So when you have a data set or a table and you have a part of it clean, let's say you have from column ABC clean and you want to transpose from, let's say, G to, let's say, Q. You want to transpose from G to Q. You use a command called Unpivot. So when you're transposing a part, like a section of your data sets, you're using a command called Unpivot. But when you want to transpose the whole table, like the whole table, that's when you want to like arrange or turn the whole table, that's when you use transpose. But when you're trying to like transpose a certain part or turn around a certain part of columns in your table, a certain part of columns in your table, you use a command called Unpivot. So let's go to Power Query and see how it works. Query and from your Power BI desktop. Okay, so when you open your Power BI desktop and you want to bring in your data sets, the data you want to work on, let's say you want to work on clean that data, particular data, you want to do some little data transformations, work on it. Where do you go to bring in that your data sets? Just look at your Power BI desktop interface. Where do you go to bring in a new data? Want to connect to different data sources? Yes, get data. So let's go to get data. So you go to your home tab, get data, and we have different common data sources. But what we are working with is an Excel workbook. Remember, the data set we want to work on is an Excel workbook. So let's click on Excel workbook. So data cleaning intro, Excel workbook. So you go to the particular place you saved that workbook you want to clean. Maybe you saved yours on under your documents, your desktop. Okay, go ahead. Your download. So we want to bring it in data cleaning intro. I click on data cleaning intro and click on open. Click on open. Okay, Tommy, while your hand is up, do you have a question? Hello, Omo. Okay, we've dropped the hand down. So now, looking at this our navigator here, so you know your navigator is showing you the particular worksheets, different worksheets in your workbook. You have different worksheets. You have advanced splits, you have empty rows, you have nulls, you have different worksheets here. So it's showing you all the worksheets you have in your Excel workbook. So it's possible that you just want to work on a particular worksheet. So you just select that one you want to work on. Let's say you have different worksheets in an Excel workbook, and the navigator is asking, okay, select the particular worksheet you want to move to, you want to navigate to, you want to work on. So now we want to work on only on pivots 1 and on pivots 2. So I want us to just select on pivots 1 and select on pivots 2. So we remember that when Muslim was teaching us about Power Query, we said it's a tool. So what kind of tool do we call it here? Because here we have load and transform. What kind of tool do we call Power Query? There's a name we put before you say tool. Is a dash tool. Can remember?
It's a transformation tool.
Yes, apart from transformation, there's like an acronym, something tool. Anyone? Anyone before we continue? Before I proceed? Okay. Okay. You say what? What did you say? Okay, let me tell us. So Power Query is an ETL tool. So you can write it down. I don't know if you remember an ETL. So you can just write it down. ETL tool. An ETL tool. An ETL tool. So you can write it vertically. You can write it vertically. ETL. So when we talk about E means extract. Extract. So like what we did here, which was our first step, we went to get data. Get data. You're trying to bring it out from different data sources. You're extracting your data. You kept it maybe your database. Let's say you're collecting your data from Excel. You want to get your data from, let's say, Facebook or Twitter. That's like your social media. You want to get want to analyze your social media tweets or something, you are extracting your data from there. You're getting it, let's say you want to get it from SQL, you're getting it from Oracle server. So that's the first step. E, you're extracting your data. You need to get your data from somewhere before you analyze it. You must get your data from a particular source. There's something you're looking for. So that is why you have the E. Then T is transform. Most times when we get our data, like one Moses said, they are very dirty. So you need to transform that particular data to the way that will be well structured. You want to transform, you want to clean it up. So T, so T is transform. And the last step is L, which is load. So once you've transformed your data, you look at your data, okay, it's not breaking any rule, it's well structured. That's when you now load it and start building visualization. So Power Query is an ETL tool, extract, transform, and load tool. That's what. So once you just remember ETL, just remember, okay, I have to get my data from somewhere. I have to transform it, make sure it's well structured before I load it and start building visualization. So you can just write it down. Power Query is an ETL tool. So now based on this our explanation, ETL. So which of these buttons should we click here? You have load or commands, you have load, you have transform data, you have cancel. So which of them should we use? Which of them should we click on?
Transform.
Transform. So let's click on transform data. So to take us to our Power Query, which is our data transformation tool. So this is our Power Query editor. This is the interface. You have the different queries you want to clean. You have Unpivot 1, you have Unpivot 2. Here you have here is showing you the data that you want to clean. Here you have ship mode, exactly like you have it in Excel. And if you look at my screen very well, you can see here you have this. This is showing you the particular data type for each of the columns. The data type for each of these columns. You can see ABC here is showing you, okay, this is a text. This column, everything that should be in this column or everything that is currently in this column is a text. 1, 2, 3 is telling you, okay, the data type here, because of it's saying here 7, 8, 1, 6, is showing you, okay, this is a whole number. This column is for numbers. So let's just click on this ABC. You click on ABC, you can see it's showing you different data types here. Different data types. Click only on ABC, not the ship mode, just that ABC here. You can see different data types. 1.2 is showing you decimal. This is showing you currency, whole numbers. See ABC here, showing you text. So you have different data types in the Power Query here. Now we have here your applied steps. You have applied steps. So yeah, you see all the steps we've gone through to bring in this data. It's just showing you the steps you're going to use in transforming your data under applied steps. You can see here your source. It's showing you, okay, I got my data somewhere. Navigation. It's showing you, if you click on this navigation now, it will take you back to that step where you picked your data from, to show you the step where you picked, sorry, the particular worksheet you wanted to work on. And here Power Query has done something. So it assumed, okay, yes, I need to promote headers for this person. I need to change type, which steps are also correct. So assuming you're transforming your data, for example, and you mistakenly do something that, okay, I don't want this step, or you realize, okay, this step is not supposed to be here, you come here and you can see this X here. This X, use this X to cancel a step, or you take yourself back to a previous step. That is why you use this X here. So this is just like, let me say my own layman's term, just like a Control Z in Excel or Control Z in Excel. So now let's look at this, our data. Let's look at our data. Let's go back to this data. You can see ship mode, and we can see all the different columns we want to clean. Look at the different columns we want to clean. And now we said ABC, that's this column 1, that's your ship mode, is well structured. We don't want to transform that place. We want to transpose from the second column, which is Houston. Want to transpose from this column. Want to transpose from this column. So just like you have in your Excel, your Power BI, Power Query also have different tabs. You have your home tab, you have your transform tab, which is almost everything about cleaning your data, your transform tab. You have your add column tab. Assuming you want to add a column, let's say you want to do perform some calculations, you can also do it here in Power Query. Let's say I want to add a column that will determine let's say the price of something, or let's say quantity sold. You can do that here in Power Query by adding a column. You can check your view. Here you want to check your column quality. Okay, how many percent of this is empty? You can see it's showing you here. Just come here under view and see column quality. It's showing you okay, 100% valid. There's no empty row. There's no empty column. There's no error in this table you're working on. You have tools, you have help, and others. So now let's go to our transform tab.
Excuse me. Sorry, if there is an error, how are we going to know?
Go to view. Go to view, your view tab. Click on column quality or tickets. So to show you, you can see here showing 0% error. If there's an error, to show you the percentage of that particular error. It will show you how many percent of your table or that particular column is empty. For example, if it's 2%, if there are like 2 columns that are empty, to show you the percentage that is empty and to show you what is valid here. So look at it, view tab and tick column quality. Column quality.
Hello, no, yeah.
Hello?
Okay, yeah. I don't know if sorry, I just go back here and I can see Oluwafemi's hand is up. I don't know if you've attended to her.
Okay. Okay, hello Luwafemi, your hand is up. I didn't see that.
Yes, I was trying to how you got to identifying the quality of the column, but you answered it. I need to go to view.
Okay, yes, go to view and click on column quality.
Sorry, so
Mm-hmm.
when I
Go
went to
ahead.
go columns from view, I'm seeing column, go to columns. I'm not seeing the column quality.
You don't have this data preview. You
So
don't
I
have
have the
this.
which one? Oh, data preview. Okay, yes. Oh, okay, I've seen it. Thank you. Column quality.
All right.
Do I need
Yes.
to check it? Okay, I need to check it.
Yeah, you can just decide to check it.
Okay, I can see it now. Thank you.
Yes.
Mhm.
So let's go back to transform tab. You can go to transform tab. So now look at this table. Remember we said we want to transpose a certain part. Want to transpose a certain part of your table. So now we go to ship mode and want to unpivot the other part of the table that we feel is not well structured, that is breaking the rule of data category should be in a unique column, or yes, in a separate column, a unique column. So you just go to ship mode, click on ship mode, let it be highlighted, then right click. When you right click, you have so many commands showing here. You can see. If you want to remove that particular column, you remove it. You can remove duplicates from here. You can change type, transform. But what we want to do is we want to use one of these commands here. One of these commands. You see, we have unpivot columns, unpivot other columns, unpivot only selected columns. and we say want to transpose a certain part, we all agree that column 1 is clean.
You brought it here again.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, I
Yes,
can.
lot.
Okay. So we all agree that column 1 is clean. I want to clean the other one. So which of these commands should we use? We have unpivot columns, unpivot other columns, unpivot only selected columns.
Unpivot other columns.
Thank you. So let's click on pivot other columns. Right click on unpivot other columns and see what happens.
Yeah, hello, Noya.
Hello, I can hear you.
Yeah, what's the difference with that of just going to transpose, like the one Muhsin taught us
So you
yesterday?
can tick. Oh, sorry, what did I do? So the difference between transpose and unpivot, is it what you're asking for?
Exactly.
Okay, now when you're transposing, the effect of transpose is that it's affecting the table. Do you get it? Transpose is affecting the entire table. It's going to transform the entire table. But when you're unpivoting, what you're doing is you're transposing columns, a certain part of columns. Transpose, just get it. Transpose is for table, unpivot is for columns. Because if you're looking at unpivot now, you can see all the commands here is talking about columns. Columns. You're trying to transpose a certain part of your table. So you're looking at in my table, okay, assuming, let me cancel this step here under applied steps. Let me take it back, one step back. Assuming, let's say we had column 1, 2, 3 clean, and we want to clean from this Chicago. We want to clean from Chicago. And we are saying, okay, I can see that this is clean, but I want to transpose from this Chicago. This side is not well structured. I want to transpose that side. The command you use is unpivot, because you cannot just transpose or transform the whole table because of a particular column. You want to clean some certain parts. So what you use is unpivot. I don't know if you get it. Do you
Yes, thank you.
understand? Yes, thank you. So under this transform tab, I'm someone that likes doing things fast, but in this life, there are always like 2 or 3 ways to achieve one particular goal. There are 2, you can either go through the long cut, the shortcut, or let's say a route that is even shorter than the shortcut if possible. So under this transform tab, you also have unpivot columns here. So me, I prefer to right click and do it. There are some people that don't want to right click, they want to use all these commands up here. So if I cancel this my step here, I can still come here, just click on ship mode and come up here. You can see this drop down here. I click on this drop down, I click on unpivot other columns, and to still do the same thing for me. So it depends on the one that is fast for you or the one that you prefer. Go back to our applied steps. What do you notice under the applied steps? If you look at your own, what you've done on your own Power Query, what do you notice? What do you notice?
The unpivot other columns step has been added.
Yes, exactly. We have a new step that has been added here on pivot other columns. So assuming I don't want this step here, if I click on this cancel, this X sign here, it will take me back to the previous step. Just look at it. It has taken me back to the previous step. But if I come back and I do it again, you see that that step has been added here. So now let's look at this. We have ship mode, we have attributes we have value. Assuming I don't want to call these attributes. Power Query just gave it that name attribute. I don't want to call it attribute. I can just come to where I have attributes, right click on it, and I can see rename here to rename it. You can see rename to rename it. Let's say I want to call it cities or state. You can click on rename to call it city or state. Or another fast way is just double click on it, and I can call this, let's say, state. So these are states, and you can see this name of that particular column has been changed. The name has been changed. The name has been changed. If you go to our apply steps, you can see a new step has been added called renamed column. Named columns. If you cancel that step, it will take you back to the previous step where you had attributes. Attributes. So I want us to do an assignment here in class. I'll give us for 10 minutes. We'll just do that for 10 minutes. Okay, 10 minutes is even long. 5 minutes. I'll give us 5 minutes to do that. So I want us to clean that on pivot 2. I want us, what we did for on pivot 1, let's do it for on pivot 2. So just do it for on pivot 2. So this is 9:12. So by 9, let's say 9:18, we should be done. 9:18, we should be done. So when you're done, just use the hand tool to raise up your hand. I want us to work on pivot 2. On pivot 2. Everyone, let's just work on pivot 2. And when you're done, you use the hand tool to raise up your hand. Thank you. Okay, I have 3 hands up. Okay, 7 hands up. Okay, you can see we all did it before time. Okay. So I would like someone to unmute their mic and tell us how you were able to claim on Pivot 2. Anyone, you can just unmute your mic.
So after navigating to transform, I right clicked on the ship mode and I selected on pivot other columns. So after that, I renamed the second column the attribute as states. That's all I did.
Right, thank you. So now let's look at the ship mode, the states, and the value. Let's look at their data types. So you have ship mode, states, and value. We can just come here and check if the data type is correct. Since the data set we have is not much, but when we have a data set that is much, it's not really advisable to come through here to check for each of them, but we can just check here. So let's come here, we check decimal number. This is decimal number, so it's okay. You can just click out. It is text, it's okay, we can just clean out. And this is also text, can just click out and just click it out. Now go to our home tab. Let's go back to home tab. So when you're done working on your data sets in Power Query, you're done, you've cleaned it up. The next thing you do is you have to close and apply everything you've worked on, just like you do in Excel. You need to make sure like you saved everything. Let's use the term saved. You've closed it and you want to apply it so that I can start building visuals or using it to create, let's say, a report. So you just come to this command here under your home tab, see it here. This first one, this first ribbon, you have close and apply. Close and apply. So I'll just click on it. Close and apply. And to take you back to your Power BI. Take you back to Power BI. And now you can see here, immediately you click on close and apply. You can see here you now have it under your fields. If you want to build visuals, you can see on pivot 1 and on pivot 2, they're under your fields. So you can just open them. You see all the tables, all the columns you have in that particular table. Ship mode, states, value. You can see it. And value. So now this data we claimed is kind of like a simpler version of what we are going to, or what we want to try to achieve today. So today, the second data set we are going to be working on is called dirty data samples. Dirty data. So let me open it up. Dirty data. So I'm sure we all got that file from Musin, the email that Musin sent to us yesterday. He attached that file there. You can see you have dirty data. I want us to open dirty data. One of dirty data. So we're going to work on dirty 1 in class here, and then what we'll be asked to do, we'll claim 32, 3, and 4 as our take-home like assignment. So it's 31 we're going to work on today in class. So now looking at 31, what do you think, what rule is this 31 breaking? What rule? Is dirty one breaking?
Missing data.
Okay, you have some. Okay. I think same day is not
Single row of
reacting.
header.
Yes, a single row of header.
Heading.
Mhm.
And data obstruction.
Okay. Then here, each unique data category should have its own column.
Yes.
Okay, now let's go to Power BI and try to work on it. So we'll just work on it here also. Can work on it here also. So we'll go to get data, or we can just decide to save this one. So when we start creating visualization, it's not going to affect. So we can just come here, file, and save. So since I'm not signed in, it might ask me to sign in sometimes. Let's just see. Let's see. Let's see. You can save this. And then let's say I open my Power BI again because I want to work on a fresh data set. I'm supposed to use Control N. Don't know why I'm going through this. Okay, so it's up. So I want us to go to get data. And go to get data. Excel workbook again. And then we bring in dirty data. Dirty data. Let's bring in dirty data. Dirty data. And we want to work on 31, 32, 33, and 34. 31, 32, 33, and 34. Now let's click on transform data. I want to work on it in Power Query. I want to transform that particular data set. Now, another thing you can do in Power Query is, for example, let's go to this our View tab. Let's go to our View tab. Again, let's go to View tab. Remember we said the formula language for Power Query is, let's mute our mic. The formula language for Power Query is M. So M, if you want to copy the code, for example, you want to see the code that you use to clean up this data, you come to your View tab and you see Advanced Editor. See it here, Advanced. Click on Advanced Editor. So by the time we're done cleaning it, you'll see the code will be long. Advanced Editor. So it's telling you, okay, the source, where did you get this data file from? Excel.workbook. It's telling you the user and where you got it from, your downloads, dirty data, the sheets that you're working on. The first thing that was done, you can see promoted header, which was done by Power Query. It's telling you it has changed type. So by the time we continue, we'll see more. This dirty advanced editor, the code here, the source code here will be more than this. Assuming, let's say you have a data set that has the same structure and you don't want to clean it every time, you can just come here. Let's say I look at 32, 33. You can decide to just copy the same code and you paste it here. But that's not what we're supposed to be doing now. So let's just learn how to clean it first. Let's learn how to clean it first. So don't learn the shortcut first. I like us to learn how to clean it individually before you start learning how to use or copy codes and use your advanced editor. So let's go to dirty one. Let's go back to dirty one. Let's go back to dirty one. And now let's look at our applied steps. Now I want to look at our applied steps. The previous one, Power Query did something for us, and yes, we liked it. Okay, yes, they promoted header and they changed type for us. But now in this situation, we have different situation. You know, there are different ways to, let's say, kill a bit. So now in this particular data set, we have a way or a structure we want to use. We don't like these steps that Power Query has taken for us because you know Power Query is an AI tool, an artificial intelligence tool, and it's assuming okay, this is what let's say Noye wants this data to look like. She wants it maybe she wants us to promote header and change type, which is not what we want. We want it to leave it at navigation because look at we can see now here we have segments up here, and this is not what we want. When you're structuring your data, I don't want this segment up here. I want to transpose this table first of all. I don't want to go through the process of transpose promoting header first of all. I can come to Power Query here under my apply steps, cancel it, cancel promote header. Let's leave it with the columns names as the way it is when you're bringing it from Excel. We have column 1, column 2, column 3, column 4, column 5, and column 6, and so on down to column 16. I want it to be like this. Let it be that my row 1 is what has segments customer, my row 2 is what has ship modes, my row 3 is what have my order ID. This is the way I want it to be.
Sorry, how are you able to change it to column one?
Sorry, what did you say?
How are you able to change it to column one? The
No,
segments before.
column 1. How? Sorry. I said come to applied steps. Power Query took a step called promoted header and change type. What we just did is we canceled those steps. That's what we did. Power
I
Query
can't find
assume
that list. Where is it located?
okay. Come towards your right hand side of your Power Query. You can see query settings here. Can you see this? Do you have this?
Yeah, I have it.
Okay, so under you see applied steps.
Yeah.
So just cancel the 2 last steps. Let it go back to navigation. That's navigation. Remember, navigation is where we selected the different steps we wanted to take, or different worksheets we wanted to work on or clean.
Okay.
Yes. So now let's under this our view tab. Remember we said we check our column quality. Let's click on column quality. Can you see it's showing you something here for column 2? Can you see 91% empty, 96% empty, 89% empty? This is what I was telling us about initially. So when you use your column quality, you can check, okay, the distribution of my table. Okay, how many is empty? What are the errors? Is there an error in this column? What is valid? So now it's showing you that, okay, only 4% is valid because you just have only 4% of numbers here. The rest are null or empty, let's say empty cells. Empty cells. Empty cells. Now let's go to our transform tab. Let's go to our transform tab. And the first thing we want to do, look at this data set. What do you think should be the first step we want to do? We want to arrange this table. We want this column 1, sorry, row 1, row 2, and row 3 to be columns. What do you think we should do? What is the name of that step you take to convert, let's say, a row to column?
Transpose.
Transpose. So let's go to our transform tab. Thank you, Baba Tope. Transform tab. And you can see the table group. You have different group. So everything when you're working about or working on a table, you see it under the table group. Anything for columns, you can see it here. Any column, anytime you're working on column, you can see it here. You want to work on a column, text column, you can see it here. Anything that has text in it, you can see it here. Now let's click on transpose. Let's click on transpose. Click on transpose. Let's click on transpose. So now we've been able to transpose our table. So now we are going to go on break. We'll go on break now. I want us to be let everyone transpose their table first before we go on break. Click on transpose. You go to apply step. Can you see a new step has been added called transpose table? Transpose table. So now we'll be going on our break. So hello Musin. How many minutes should we give for our break? I don't know if he's here.
I think we should just do 2 minutes so that we are able to cover what we need to do.
Okay, let's use 5 minutes so people can stand up and drink water if they're pressed. 5 minutes should be okay.
Okay.
Okay. So go on our break for 5 minutes. We should be back by at least 9:40 at or latest 9:40. So our break we're supposed to come back by 9:38. 9:38. 9:38. So we'll just have 5 minutes break and we'll be back again.
Does what people say can't be done, you know? And I think it started with trying to please my mother and trying to please my grandmother, and they always wanted higher for me. They always wanted more for me. And it got to the point that I wanted to be something. I wanted to be somebody. And it made me choose certain roles. It made me turn down certain roles. There is more than an image that I want to project. I want to be the person that is the first person there and the last person to leave. That's who I want to be, because I think that the road to success is through commitment and through the strength to drive through that commitment when it gets hard. And it is going to get hard, and you're going to want to quit sometimes, but it'll be colored by who you are and more who you want to be. I definitely found that wanting to be an actor stems from wanting to be somebody. My mom wanted me to be a truck driver because that would mean I'd make $24,000 a year if I went to Truck Masters, and that would be twice what my father made. And she thought that would happen, but something inside of me said, I don't want to drive a truck. There's something else that matters more to me, and I decided I was not going to go for money instead of passion. And the rewards have been pretty amazingly better than being a truck driver. It's not bad being a truck driver, it's just not what I was after. And I look back, and one of the things that helped me was my original teacher, Jim Rohn, who was a personal development speaker. I went to hear when I was 17. He said something the first time I heard him, and he said, you know, it's really simple. If you want life to change, you got to change. If you want life to be better, you've got to get better. It's the only way it happens. And luck will show up for people and it'll leave them. But if you're constantly improving who you are and what you give, game over.
See if you can find some ways to multiply your value to the marketplace. And he said your income will immediately start to change.
See, if you go through life holding back, and most of us do, most of us, if we ask ourselves, have we done all we can do? Most of us will have to answer, no, we haven't. We've been holding back. We have ideas that we don't act on, things we want to do. We're afraid to take chances. We go through life trying to seek security and not coming outside of our comfort zone, and we take most of our stuff with us to the grave.
Up until then, I was hoping that the economy would change. I was hoping that my company would change. I was hoping that my paycheck would change. I was hoping that circumstances outside would change. And then here's what I found out. It isn't going to change. So then my question was, if it isn't going to change, how will my life ever change? And here's what my teacher taught me. When you change, everything will change for you.
And I'm saying that the fact that you're still here, that you're still breathing, you've got some more work. And you owe it to yourself. You owe it to yourself. So when you get up in the morning, that you can look yourself in the face and say, hey, I'm living my life on my terms.
Okay, welcome back, everyone.
When it comes to planning,
Welcome back. Welcome back. So if you're back, please use the hand tool to raise up your hand. If you're back, use the hand tool to raise up your hand. Okay, you can see. Okay, now let's continue. Thank you all for coming back. Thank you. So now let's continue. So now the first thing we've done is we brought in our data, we selected the sheets we wanted to work on, and now we transposed our table. We transposed our table. And we can now see we have segments, you have ship mode, you have other ID. Look at it, ship mode, other ID. And we know that these are like the names of these columns. Let's say the names of each field. So this segment is supposed to be where you have your column 1. The ship mode is where you're supposed to have your column 2. And the other ID is where you currently have your column 3. Sorry. Yes, your ship mode is supposed to be where you have your column 2, and your other ID is where you have your column 3 currently. So we want to make sure that this our segment goes up to column 1, our ship mode goes up to column 2, and our other ID goes up to column 3. So I want to make sure these are our column headers. So segment, ship mode, other ID are our column headers. So what we do now is we want to promote headers. We want to use our first row. That's this row 1. We want to use it as our header. We want to use it as our header. So if you come under this our transform tab, you can see this command here that works with our table. Under the table group, use first row as header. Use first row, that is this row. This row, we want to use it as our header. So you can just come here. You can say use first row as header. Let's click on it. Use first row as header. Use first row as header. So now look at it. We've used our first row as header. Now we have our segment up here. We have ship mode up here, and we
Sorry, I
have.
can't find please.
What did you say?
Under home, right?
Yes. No. Go to
Under home,
transform
right?
tab. No, transform tab.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. This one.
Continue now. Thank you.
Yes. So now we have used our first row as header. And remember, one of our rules says there should be no total or subtotal. So if we didn't transpose, most likely we'll have not seen this consumer total and corporate total. You can see it here. Consumer total, corporate total. So we have totals. And remember, it's breaking one of our rules. We don't want to have what? Total in our table. There should be no total or subtotal. So we come to this icon here. We want to filter out. Can come to this icon here. It comes to this icon here. I want to remove total. Well, anyone that has total. Let's remove consumer total and corporate total. And we also have home total. So let's remove those. Filter them out. We don't need them. So now that we're done, we have some nulls here, just like so. Let's say empty cells. They are empty cells. Let's call them empty cells normally, because in Excel you see them as empty cells. But in Excel now, assuming we want this consumer to get up to column 4, sorry, yes, row 4. Normally in Excel, let's say you look at this. Okay, I know that consumer is supposed to be under here. Consumer is here. Normally when you put your mouse here in Excel, you can just drag down. You come to corporate, you drag down. You come to home office, you drag down. But you can't do that in Power Query. You can't do that in Power Query. Instead, you use a command called fill. Fill. You can either fill up or you fill down. So if you come to any column group, you have fill here. You have fill here. And remember, you can also right click on that particular column you want to do that for. So I always prefer to right click. I always prefer to right click. So I just right click on segment column and I come to fill. See the fill command and I'll click on fill down. We're filling down. You're actually filling down. You're not filling up. So right click, come to fill and I'll click on fill down. Look at it for segments. You can see we fill down for segments. So now we have our column 1, column 2, and let's say column 3 is quite okay. Let's look at it. And remember what we did in on pivot 1 and on pivot 2. We want to transpose a certain part of our data set. We want to transpose a certain part of our data set. We want to transpose a certain part of our data set. So I ask us, from which column now should we unpivot? look at the data set. We have column 1 and 2. Let's say really clean. From which part should be on pivots? Anyone? Should we transpose?
We should transpose every other columns apart from column 1 and column 2.
Okay, let's try it out and see. So I'll highlight column 1. I'll click on my control on my keyboard. Column 2, let's see. And let's see on pivot other columns. Okay. So we can see what he said is correct. So let's all do that. So click on column 1. Hold your control. If you have your mouse, you can click on your mouse, or you can just use control and your right arrow key. That's not really working for me. Okay, let me just shift and right arrow, or my shift and the right arrow key, or you can just use control and use your mouse to click on the second column and click on right click on it and click on unpivot other columns. So now we can look at our data. It's now a little bit well structured. You have your segments in one column, you have ship mode in one column, and let's say this is our order ID. We can just double click on it to rename, and we'll call this, let's say, order ID, and we can leave this as values, or let's say we want to call this revenue. We can just come here, you double click on it, and let's say we call this revenue. If we go to our view now, let's check if it's well. If you have any empty or any error, go to view tab and let's click on column quality. You can see everything is 100% valid. We have no error, we have no empty cell. So now, looking at this, we've renamed column 1, so column 3 and column 4. We name column 3 and column 4. So now I want to check the data type for each of them. Remember, we say we can always come here to check it individually. But what we want to do is we want to detect the data type. We want it, okay, Power Query, since you're an AI tool, we want you to auto detect the data type for each of them correctly. So you can just come here. Under this our transform tab. Remember when you're still in transform tab. And you have your any column group. Can you see it? Any column group. Anything that has to do with column, I can just come here and click on detect data type. Detect data type. So let's click on it. Let me highlight all of them. Let me cancel this step. Highlight all of them and I'll click on detect data type. So make sure all of them are highlighted. Let me cancel this step and show us back again. So you control, or you can use your shift and your right arrow key. Your right arrow key, and then you come to this any column group and you click on detect data type. Let it detect the data type for all of them. You can see the data type for revenue has changed. Can you see? It has changed to decimal number. It has changed to decimal number. The other ID also, you can see it. Text, it has changed to text. And this is also text. This is also text. dirty one. So if you go to our view tab, let's go to our view tab again. Click on column quality. You can see everything is now 100% valid. Let's go to our advanced editor and look at our M code. Can you see what we said? It is now longer because we've taken a lot of steps to transform our data, and it's showing us no syntax error detected. Look at the steps we took. This is the M query or M code, sorry, M code that was written by Power Query. So this is what we used to clean this data. There are some people that know M so well that they can even type this on their own and to clean it up too for them instead of going through all using all these tabs and ribbons. But since we are still just want to do it, this is also to help us. This is also to help us. So now we have 32, 33, and 34. So look at it, 32, 33, and 34. So that is going to be our assignment. So we have to clean 32, 33, and 34. So hello Musin, when should the assignment be submitted by everyone? And when is our next meeting date?
Okay, so the assignment is due for submission before next session. And for next session, we won't be meeting on Saturday um, due to the Global Power Platform Bootcamp, which will be happening that day. So for a number of us that would probably want to attend the physical event so that we are not too stressed out, and then we still have some learnings to go through. So the next class will be on Sunday, and then we'll continue from here, and we are expected to have submitted our assignment before then. So we just look through all the dirty data that we have, and we screenshot this the Power Query applied step for each of from the dirty data. So we are not let's not attach the file itself. So we just take a screenshot of the applied steps on each of the queries 32, 33. So we screenshot the applied steps, and then we send that as an attachment via email. So that is the mode of submission. Um, yeah, I think that's typically it. So the other thing I would just quickly want to mention also is that we should be on the lookout for the recordings that we promised. Most likely one will drop this night um, before morning. Most likely we'll get one. So the other recordings that we would have, we should be on the lookout for those as well as promised, most especially on the Power Apps. The function bit of Power Apps should expect those recordings. Sorry. So those who come in as soon as we post as soon as possible, we'll get those. And there will be some other recordings that we'll do on the Power Query data transformation. So if we observe clearly, we would see that the first data intro file that we're using, we didn't talk about the entire transformation processes there and why you should do those. So we'll try as much as possible to get us some very brief learning points around those as well, but we take them in sequence. We understand that hands are tied, but we still, this is something that we have committed to do. So we try as much as possible to make out time to attend to those as well. But um, more specifically, we begin with those earlier recordings before we now progress into some of what we are discussing now. So I think, yeah, that's basically all from me. Thank you, Nahi.
All right, thank you, Musin. So is there any question before we round up the session today? Any question?
Excuse me, please, can you let me know when you check the data type of all these of the headers? How are you able to check the data types?
Okay, so you can come here. Here that has ABC. The small box. So if you click on it, you can see the data types, the different data types here. So you can do it one by one. So you can decide to change the data types one by one. Or another way is to allow the Power Query to detect it like what we did in class. So you just highlight all the columns and you come to any column group, and then you click on detect data type. So Power Query should detect the data type for you. So you can just click on detect data type and Power Query detects the data type for you. I don't know if I've answered your question.
Yeah, you've answered it, but I was thinking maybe one will be able to see the exact data type. Maybe it is string, it is text, it is number or something. That is where I want to. I understand this one that you just explained.
Yes, I showed you one. See this ABC here. Can you see it here?
Yeah, I can see this.
Okay, now so you can see 1.6 decimal. This is showing you fixed decimal for like currency. This is showing you 1, 2, 3 for whole number. This is showing you this for percentage. For date and time, if you have date, you convert it to this. So I think 32 has date, so you have to use this to convert it to dates. So you have time, you have date, time, time zone, you have duration, you have text, you have true or false. This is clearer now. Okay. Is there any other question? We have 2 minutes more. Is there another question before we end today's session? Okay. So remember our assignment is to work on 32, 33, and 34. So thank you everyone for attending today's session. We hope to see you on Sunday for the class 9 or the session 9. So we appreciate your efforts and your commitment towards this training or this like boot camp. Thank you once again. So if there are any questions, you can also send it across as a mail to Musin and we'll also answer the question. If you get stuck at any point when we come to the class, the next session, you can also ask your question. I think that's all from me. So thank you and we hope to see you in the next session. Do have a lovely night rest and a beautiful Monday today. Happy Valentine in advance to those that will celebrate. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Nae.